Hello student, I am Sonali Kelkar from City International School, and today we are going to do the topic respiration from the chapter life processes. Okay, so in this respiration, first I would like to take two activities. So in activity first, which is given in your book, what I have taken a lime water. Lime water is calcium hydroxide, we also call slaked lime. Okay, in this test tube I have taken lime water, and through this syringe, okay, I am passing air in the lime water. This is my test tube A. And in test tube B, what happened? There is a straw or a rod, glass rod, hollow one, and a person is blowing air in water with the help of this straw. Okay, now what will happen in test tube B? Both the test tube are having lime water, that is calcium hydroxide. In the observation, after some time, we find that the lime water in B, okay, it has changed into calcium carbonate and it is more denser. Water is also there, calcium carbonate. Because of the formation of calcium carbonate, now this will form a white color PPT. White color PPT, or it will become milky. Okay, either white color PPT or lime water turns milky. Lime water will definitely turns milky in A also, but it will take time and it is not that thick. But here in B, lime water will turn milky faster and it is more denser. So this shows that a blowing air has more amount of carbon dioxide. Okay, so this is activity 1. Now coming to the activity 2. Now here I have taken a fruit juice, or you can take a sugar solution also, and then you have to put yeast, add yeast to that fruit juice, right? After some time, what you do, take a fruit juice in a test tube, and then with the help of another, with the help of bended glass, rod, which is a hollow one, take another test tube in which you have to keep lime water. Then the air will pass from the first test tube, let's take test tube A to test tube B. Okay, whatever gas is there, it will pass from test tube A and test tube B. And what is the result? After some time you will find that this lime water has turned milky. So when lime water turns milky, it means the gas which has evolved is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide turns lime water milky. The equation is written here. Okay. So lime water plus carbon dioxide gives you calcium carbonate. This calcium carbonate has a milky appearance. Okay, it makes white PPT. So definitely there are two reactions which shows that there is a carbon dioxide liberated in these two experiments. Now coming to the first point over here, how come a carbon dioxide is present in the blowing air of a person? Okay, so from where does this carbon dioxide has come? So to answer this question, we have to go to the first topic, that is nutrition, right? So we know that in nutrition, nutrients are absorbed by our body, by the cells, okay? And these nutritions have something called energy. Why do we eat? We eat to have nutrient. What is the use of nutrition or nutrients in our body? This gives us energy because we do so many activities. There are certain cellular activities which are taking place in cells also, right? Even cell has to do activity, right? So we all are made up of cells. So definitely all cellular activities, okay, is a combined activity. So from where they get energy? The energy is there in the nutrient. Okay, so nutrient has hidden energy, but I cannot use this energy. I need to liberate this energy from a nutrient. Okay, so when nutrient enters inside the cell, what happens? When the nutrient enters inside the cell, we know the cell, this is the cytoplasm, right? In the cytoplasm, we have mitochondria. And you must have heard that mitochondria is nothing but a powerhouse. That means it releases energy. It releases energy in form of ATP. But how the energy is released? The basic thing is, right? So nutrient when absorbed by the cell. So this nutrient, basically we take the nutrient as glucose. C6H12O6 glucose. Okay. Glucose is the source of energy here we are taking, right? When glucose comes inside the cell, in the cytoplasm, there will be a reaction with the glucose. This glucose will change into pyruvate or pyruvic acid, right? Okay, so that particular reaction is known as glycolysis. That means glucose will break. Okay, right now we are not concentrated on that reaction. Right now we just come to the basic reaction. Okay, the resultant reaction. Okay, so glucose, when it comes into contact to oxygen, we all know that oxygen, cells takes in oxygen and gives out carbon dioxide. But how this carbon dioxide has come, first we have to find out. So glucose in presence of oxygen, what happens? Oxidation, which is nothing but, which is known as respiration. Okay, so this process gives carbon dioxide, it gives water, and it gives energy. So energy which was hidden in the nutrient, now it has released and we can use this energy. Okay, and what about this? The carbon dioxide released. Okay, so this is what is released. Okay, it is released out in your exhaled air, the air which you are exhaling out. This is where the carbon dioxide has come. Okay, now just balance the equation. Put 6 over here and 6 over here. So the equation is balanced. Do not write unbalanced equation. Whether it is biology or chemistry, wherever there is an equation, you need to balance it. Clear? So this is the main process in which the energy is released. Now this energy can be used in different cellular activities, right? So this is how the carbon dioxide has come. Now this whole reaction took place in presence of oxygen, right? So let's do, this is what is known as respiration. Now let's understand the definition of respiration. Okay. Now what is respiration? Let's write down the definition of respiration. Respiration is a biochemical process in which food mainly glucose is broken down into simple substances and liberates carbon dioxide and energy. Carbon dioxide, comma, water and energy. A very simple definition of respiration. Respiration is the oxidation process, okay? It is a biochemical process. It usually takes place with the food, especially carbohydrates, that is glucose, which break down into simpler substances such as carbon dioxide, water, and it releases energy. So from here the carbon dioxide has come, okay? So there are two types of respiration basically. One is aerobic respiration, the other one is anaerobic respiration. So let's do aerobic and anaerobic respiration in detail. Aerobic respiration, the word suggests that this takes place in presence of air. Aerobic, I'll just write down the short form of respiration, and anaerobic respiration. Okay. In aerobic respiration, as the word suggests, this respiration takes place in presence of oxygen. Okay. So in presence of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration, this takes place in absence of oxygen or at lack of oxygen, or in the lack of oxygen. This, I'll just write in absence of oxygen. Absence of oxygen or lack of oxygen. Clear? In aerobic respiration, there will be a complete oxidation of carbohydrates, right? Complete. That means carbohydrate will break down completely. Carbohydrate is nothing but it is a chain of hydrocarbons, right? It's a big chain of hydrocarbon. So we call polymers, right? It breaks down and releases energy. So when all the 6 carbon, let's take glucose, C6H12O6. So when all the 6 carbon bonds breaks down, it releases energy, right? So this process takes place in aerobic respiration. So we call it, there is a complete oxidation of carbohydrate, okay? Complete oxidation of carbohydrate, or we can say complete oxidation of food. Clear? Over here, in an aerobic respiration, incomplete oxidation, or you can say breakdown of food or carbohydrate. Fine. This aerobic respiration takes place in mitochondria. Okay. Mitochondria. Final respiration process takes place in mitochondria. Here, this takes place in cytoplasm. Anaerobic respiration takes place in cytoplasm. Now coming to the end product. In aerobic respiration, end products will be carbon dioxide, water and energy. This energy is in a form of ATP, but here lot amount of energy is released. That is 38 ATP is released. Okay, the amount of energy released in aerobic respiration is much more than the amount of energy released in anaerobic respiration. Now let's see how much amount of energy is released in anaerobic respiration. Okay, and product will be different. Okay, and product can be ethanol in plants, within the bracket I am writing plants, okay, or fungi. Ethanol in plants, and lactic acid, okay, in animals. We will do this in detail. Ethanol is C2H5OH, and lactic acid is C3H6O3, half of your glucose. So lactic acid is 3-carbon compound. Okay, so lactic acid released in animals because there is incomplete oxidation of glucose. And now coming to how much amount of ATP produced over here in anaerobic respiration, 2 ATP. 2 ATP is produced in anaerobic respiration. So we have seen that the respiration which is happening in both the cases, it depends upon the availability of oxygen, and because of the availability of the oxygen, there are 3 pathways which is being taken by the respiration. Now let's see the different pathways of respiration, right? So let's start. This particular pathway is also given in your book. Fine. So we are going to start with glucose. Glucose is 6-carbon compound. By this time you should know glucose is C6H12O6. Clear? Now this glucose, first it get breakdown into pyruvate or pyruvic acid. Now this pyruvic acid is 3-carbon compound. C3H4O3. It can also be written as CH3COCOOH. You can see this, the carboxylic group, pyruvic acid. Now this particular reaction is known as glycolysis. From here till here it is known as glyco. What do you mean by glyco? Glyco means glucose. Lysis. Lysis means breaking down. So there will be a breaking down of glucose. Glucose will break down. Okay, from 6 it has come to 3-carbon compound. Right, and this particular reaction takes place in cytoplasm of the cell. Now here you can see the oxidation is not a complete oxidation. As I told you, in complete oxidation all the carbon bonds or the 6 carbon bonds breaks down and release energy, right? So this particular reaction takes place in cytoplasm. So I'll write here cytoplasm. Now after this, what happened? Let's take a 3 different pathway. 1, 2 and 3, right? In first case, I will see there is a breakdown of pyruvic acid into ethanol plus carbon dioxide gas is released. Okay, ethanol is formed. Ethanol is nothing but alcohol. Okay, that is C2H5OH. Ethanol is alcohol. This is the process which is taking place in the activity 2, where the fermentation took place. So the reference of the activity 2 is due to the oxidation of glucose, incomplete oxidation of glucose, ethanol is formed and carbon dioxide gas is released, right? So this particular process is done in beverage industries, okay, alcohol industry, fine. So what is the next pathway taken by the respiration? In the next we will see there is again an incomplete breakdown of pyruvic acid or incomplete breakdown of glucose, where we will find lactic acid, okay, plus again carbon dioxide is released, water is released, fine, and ATP, 2 ATP is released in this reaction. Lactic acid, this reaction takes place due to the lack of oxygen. Okay, there is here this absence of oxygen, no oxygen here. Here there is a lack of oxygen. So this lack of oxygen takes place when you do heavy exercise, when you do heavy workout. So each and every cell of your body cannot get proper oxygen because your lungs has some capacity, but when you are working really hard, when you are doing some physical exercise, running, jumping all around, playing for let's say half an hour or 1 hour, so each and every cell of your muscles could not able to get that much of oxygen, okay, which is required for the complete oxidation of glucose. So in that case you need energy, your muscles need energy, okay. So in that case only small amount of energy is formed, that is ATP, but there will be a release of lactic acid. This lactic acid is 3 carbon compounds, right, because it is not glucose is not oxidized completely, so lactic acid will be formed. So because of the lactic acid you will get cramp or pain. After some time you will realize that there is a pain over there. So to remove this lactic acid or to get rid of this pain, you should either breathe hard or drink a lot of water, okay, but that pain goes off after some time, right? Okay, now this is all about incomplete oxidation of glucose. What happens when there is a complete oxidation of glucose? That we have already seen. In a complete oxidation of glucose, carbon dioxide gas will be released, water will be released, and energy ATP, 38 ATP is formed, right? Now this energy which is formed will be used in different cellular activities, right? Now after that what happens? After the formation APT, what happens, right? So let's take that. Now ATP, which is a form, or let's say the energy which is released in the reaction, in this reaction, that energy will be used by the cell for different cellular activity. Now what will happen to ATP? If this is my ATP, this has been used by the cell for different activities. Now this ATP will turn into ADP. This is adenosine triphosphate. So there are 3 phosphates over here. Adenosine diphosphate. There are only 2 phosphates. The last phosphate bond is broken down, and when it gets broken down, the energy is released. and this energy is used for different activities, cellular activities, right? Then what happened? This ADP again get combined. This ADP will again get combined with inorganic phosphate. This get combined with inorganic phosphate, right? And then it will change into ADP. So this whole cycle takes place in the cell. ATP, okay, the energy which is released in the process of oxidation, that energy will be utilized here. Okay, and this energy will be used to make ADP into ATP when inorganic phosphate is combined, right? So this is what happening in our cell. Clear? So let's make it ADP plus P. So there will be a bond ADP with inorganic bond, this P, and what will form ATP. Okay, when this bond break, now the ATP has formed, fine. When ATP has formed the last phosphate, okay, this is the last phosphate which is attached to ADP. Now this can also be considered as ATP. When this bond break, then 30.5 kilojoule per mole energy is released. Energy is released. .4 kilojoule energy is released. Per mole energy is MOL. Per mole energy is released. So this is all about today's session. Please practice what I have taught you, okay, and go through all type of reactions which are very important. This is a very important part of respiration. The 3 pathways that I have discussed, it is important. And next session we will see how the exchange of gases takes place in plants and animals. Okay, thank you, student.